And same thing. And same thing, we would email the student when something arrives and they can come and pick it up. Uh, Last year, 2 years ago, we started opening on Saturdays because we had quite a few students were ordering, a lot of off-campus students ordering those fresh made packages. And a lot of times they would come late on Friday. So we opened up on Saturdays so students could pick them up. We were trying to be as accessible as we can. I did notice one question on there about bus service. So on our campus at the Charles V. Keating Center, Coach Atlantic, which runs Maritime Bus, has a depot there where students can buy tickets. So you can buy tickets online or buy tickets right at the Keating Center box office. And the bus goes to Halifax once a day, and comes from the airport once a day, and same with a trip to Sydney. They do add additional coaches at busy times of year. So we know already we've got extra buses coming next Thursday and Friday and the following Monday. So when Thanksgiving comes or break weeks or Christmas, they always add additional buses, and it's worked out quite well for our students. That's kind of a brief overview of some of the key things in ancillary services, and I'll be here at the end in case you have any questions. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob, and over to Tim.
Thanks, and welcome. We're all excited to see you, and it's great to meet you all a little before and give you some information. So we're going to run through a couple of the big questions that we always get. And most of you have probably been looking at meal plans and trying to figure out what meal plan is going along with your housing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how those work. So the primary meal plans are the 315, 415, and unlimited. All meal plans, those meal plans come with swipes, which is what the 315, 415, and unlimited are referring to, which are your access to Morrison Hall, the dining hall. So one swipe equals entrance to the dining hall. Once you're in, it's an all-you-can-eat facility. It has a salad bar, deli, soup station, pizza, grill, international station, something called My Kitchen, where you can cook your own food out of a stocked kitchenette, a classic station, a dessert station. So that's an all-you-can-eat while you're in experience, and it's your primary dining while you're using swipes. There's two other areas that you can use a swipe. So several times a week, you can choose to go up to Bloomfield Cafe and partake in the One Swipe program, which is offered over lunch on Monday to Friday. And it has a lot of the retail favorites offered up there. We have a wrap station, a made-to-order grill station, smoothie station, a salad concept station, a home-style station, and a barista station, and old-fashioned milkshakes as well up there. So that's kind of an alternate idea if you want to change it up through the week, or if you happen to be on that side of campus through the day. The third location is called Grab and Go. It's through an alternate entrance of Morrison Hall. We refer to as the President's Entrance. And it actually allows you to come pick up a combination meal and take it with you. So either a reheatable meal or a cold meal. In case your timing doesn't quite work with when the dining hall is open for a meal service, or you've got a class or a conflicting schedule. The other part of a meal plan is DCB, and you'll see that frequently in the retail locations, and that refers to declining balance. And it's essentially cash on your student card, works like cash, and you can use those in the retail environments. So we highly recommend that you use your swipes for your primary eating and using the dining hall, and reserving that DCB for the perks, like I need a Starbucks for studying, or you're looking for a treat on a weekend. That's what it's really good for. So that can be utilized at one of the 4 retail locations, which is Bloomfield, 12 Cafe in Mulrooney Building, the Keating Center would be the third, and then the Starbucks as well down at Morrison Hall. if you're still pondering what plan to use, I really highly advise to watch closely over the next first couple of weeks as to how much you're using your plan, if you're on the right plan. You can always go up on a plan, but after October 6th, you can't go down on a plan. So you want to make sure in that first couple of weeks you're on the right plan. Your eating habits will change, your schedule will change. So it's totally normal to find yourself maybe not on the exact right plan. Contact housing, they're happy to change it for you before those dates and get you all set up. Bob touched on dietary needs. That's another question that we get very frequently. If you have any dietary needs for medical or religious reasons, feel free to reach out to us. Fill out on our through the link the dietary form. We will be in contact very quickly and give you a tour and meet with you and make sure that you've got the tools to succeed. Don't wait if you're in that situation. You know, we can help you right away, and we have a dedicated team that focuses on that. A couple of other things I want to mention while we're on here just quickly is one for your parents. If you have a special occasion or want to send something to your student, we do have a program called Gifts from Home that allows you to do birthday cakes, pizza parties, that kind of thing arranged through us. It's way easier to order a birthday cake from us than to try and ship one through Bob's post office. So please feel free to reach out for that. The other one is get connected. We have 4 types of social media that discuss all of the events that are going on within our locations and ongoing promotions, as well as the mobile apps that we have, which is one is called Cano, which is a reusable container program, which is free to use for students. So you want to sign up for that right away so that you can access the reusable containers. The Everyday Mobile Ordering app, which allows you to use your meal plan DCB and order ahead and skip lines and access the retail locations, and as well as something called Too Good to Go, which is a value food platform. So we sell bags of different foods off in bulk. And it's a great way to grab a lot of food for you and your friends at a really good price. So if you have anything, we'll be at the showcase on Friday and happy to discuss more in depth. Jacqueline?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Next, we have Wade, who's going to talk a bit about some information that you need to know about your student accounts.
Well, hello everybody, and thanks, Tim. Now I'm hungry and I'm really trying not to snack at night, so I don't know how that's going to go after this. So yeah, I manage student accounts, and St. FX is a little unique in fact that we charge up front for all of our fees, our tuition, housing, and meals. We put those on for the full year. We're not semestered with respect to fees. And actually, just before our call, I was had a confirmation that our meals and housing fees are on the student accounts now, and so you'll be able to see here where you can see your student account, and you should see all your fees there, and most of the scholarships are there. If you don't see your scholarship, wait another week, and then I would have you look into it then, but my guess is it's there now. So our first payment date is on September the 15th. And so we're unique that way because we charge for the full year. We essentially have students pay 65% upfront on September 15th. And so in order to figure out your exact amount, in order to avoid a late fee, you can use our first term payment calculator to figure out that amount if you're not paying the full amount. And then on January, whatever's left on your account at that point is due on the 15th. So payments can really easily be made, and this is the most popular way to do it. Not that we don't want to see you, but it's just so convenient to just pay via your online banking. So you can just set St. FX up as a payee. Now, some of the banks, just the way they have their search engine for their bills, you have to look around. Perhaps you may have to use the word university or spell St. Francis Xavier out, but you will find St. FX with all banks and most credit unions, and then you'll just register your account number is your student ID number. So double check that, because you want to make sure that's going to the right spot. And then when you make your payment, we'll receive that payment 3 to 5 days later. It's not instant. So just keep that in mind. But you can still also mail us a check, send us a wire if you're outside of Canada, and you can drop in and see us in person. We're just across, actually, from Morrison Hall, Meal Hall, on the first floor of McKinnon Hall. And so, as I mentioned earlier, students can see their account details online through their My Data account. Now, you're going to receive some information about your pass. And if you haven't checked it out, look for those emails and you can sign into your My Data account. It's just like a bank account, really. It's going to show the charges that I mentioned earlier. Any payments that you make will show up there. And really, although sometimes this doesn't seem like a priority, when there's a lot of studying going on and courses and a lot of interesting things going on campus, please encourage everybody to check their account on a regular basis. If there's anything that you don't understand, then you reach out to us at Student Accounts and we'll help you. Or if you think you see an error, then you do the same thing. But so check that regularly, please. And I know that'll benefit you if you do that. Our tax forms, so I say here they'll be at the end of February. That'll be the very end of February. We have to have them ready, and our T2202s are available online, and those are the ones that everybody's going to look for, because that is going to help with taxes. So that's available online. Each student, you're just going to sign in and you'll follow some links, but if you have any trouble, you just reach out to us and we're happy to help. Confidentiality, so although a lot of students have family members that are paying for them or paying a portion of it, the student is the holder of that information, and so we will only communicate with the student directly. If a family member were to call in, a lot of times, or send us an email, a lot of times we can answer the question in general terms. And I do know that a lot of students do share with a family member, perhaps a parent, their ID and pass that you would need to see the My Data account. So that's going to be up to each student whether they share that or not. But I do know that that does happen. And how to contact us. So our email is studentaccounts, that's missing, at stfx.ca. Or you can give us a call at 867-2123, or again, drop in and see us. We're open 9 to 4:30 Monday to Friday on the first floor of McKinnon Hall. And you can also get a lot of information on our section of the St. FX webpage. So you just go to stfx.ca, and then in our little search box, put student accounts, you'll be taken there. And then the last thing I'll mention is, if you haven't received an email, by the end of day tomorrow, you'll receive an email. And I know you get a lot of emails, but please take time to have a look through and see which ones are important to you. But you will have an email with all kinds of links that make it a little easier. So I'll be around at the end to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Wade. And on a related topic, Mary Fisher McDonnell is going to share a bit of information about financial aid and some options there.
Hi everyone, welcome to St. FX. I'm going to adjust my camera because I see I'm not centered. So I'm the financial aid officer at St. FX. Financial aid is an office of two. We work under the direction of the registrar. So really, our office has three main functions. We assist students navigating the government student aid program. So at St. FX, we participate with student loans within the Canadian government programs, US government program, and the SEND-SEED program for Ecuadorian students. And we also manage the university's needs-based bursary program. So there's an entrance, a general, and a limited bursary program. And we also support students in developing their financial literacy skills. So that's budgeting exercises and sort of giving them hints and just sort of helping them understand their finances. For a lot of students, going off to university is the first time they've really needed to manage their finances on their own or a bit more independently than they had it before. So we're here to help them do that. So I'll just briefly speak to each of these items. So starting with student loans, for Canadian student loans, Wade was just, talking about the charges and when fees are applied and when payment is due. So, if you're thinking, haven't done that yet, it's not too late to apply for student loans in any of the Canadian programs. So in Canada, a student applies to the student loan program in their home province, regardless of where they're going to school. So if you're joining us from Ontario, your student's coming to St. Max from an Ontario high school, the program that your student would apply to is the Ontario Student Assistance Program, even though they're coming here to Nova Scotia to study. So likewise, coming from any other province or territory, you're applying to the home province or territory. And it's important to know in Canada that our government aid programs, they are supplemental, which means even if your student receives the maximum amount of funding available in loans and grants, that's not going to cover all of their costs for a year of study. So they do need a financial plan beyond just student loan government funding. And for a lot of the programs, it's also important to know, so first term funding, our office and Wade's office is in the process of processing confirmation of enrollments now so that funding can all be processed and arrive by the payment due date. For the winter term, for second term funding, we will start processing that in December as the loan programs provide us with the records. And for many of the loan programs, there is a second step your student has to complete during the fall term in order to have that disbursement of funding in the second term. So in particular, both Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Islands programs have a pre-study report the student has to complete, and this will be made available to them on their MyPath account following the start of classes. So quite often we'll have students reaching out to us, end of this, January, middle of February, saying like, hey, where's the rest of my money? And the first thing we'll say is, well, did you do your pre-study report? Or, if it's a different program than Nova Scotia or PEI, whatever the equivalent report is. So that's an important reminder. And also anytime with student loans, government funding, if we have questions, if we're, trying to complete a form for your students, that type of thing, and we need information from them, we will email them to let them know that, we're waiting on something for them, or we need an answer for them, or we need a response from them. And that email is going to their St. Max student email account. So it's a really good idea that, at this point, getting ready to come join us in just, a week and a half, 2 weeks, that they've transitioned to using their St. Max email. And then, as I mentioned, we do participate in student loan funding for U.S. students. We participate in both the U.S. Department of Education's Federal Student Aid Program, as well as a direct loan program through Sallie Mae, private lender. So if anyone does have any questions about either of those programs, certainly I would encourage you or your student to reach out directly to me. They are certainly beneficial programs, slightly complicated programs. There's just some additional layers when you're studying at a foreign school, and I'm here to help you through those programs as well. And then our bursary programs is a big part of what we do. So bursaries may be able to provide some supplementary funding in addition to government student loans or the private aid that your student has, or a line of credit, that type of thing. And the average bursary is between $500 to $1,000. So these programs can help to address small gaps in the student's budget, but they're really not a main source of funding. So it's important to understand that coming in. And I'll just briefly describe the difference between a scholarship and a bursary. So scholarships are managed through another office within admissions. Scholarships are based on academic merit, so coming directly from high school, your high school marks, that type of thing. Whereas a bursary is based on financial need, so demonstrating need within the application based on the costs, the resources, those types of things. And beyond that, the criteria can vary a little bit. We have bursaries that are based, in addition to demonstrating financial need, on things like where you're from, the program that you're in, your interests, volunteerism, all of those types of things. So our bursary programs are in-course programs. So they open, the limited program opens the first day of classes in September. It's an online application that will be open for 4 weeks. And then our general program for the fall term, there's an application in both October and November. And then sort of a repeat in the winter term. Limited program will open first day of classes in January. And then we will also later in January and again in February have a general application as well. And then around financial literacy, as I said, really, we're here to help students kind of understand the process of managing their own money, managing their finances. All of the major Canadian banking institutions do offer student loans or, some type of student line of credit option. Typically, these do require a cosigner for a student who's under 19 years of age, and we'll encourage students to sort of shop around and see what the banks are offering. We also can help students to, with food security, make sure they know that they can access the on-campus Student Food Resource Center, as well as the local community bank if they need to. And we're also here with helpful hints such as, on Tuesdays, Sobeys offers a 10% discount to students who are shopping by showing their student ID. Superstore has a similar program with additional points earned through their points program on Tuesday for students, those types of things. And finally, the last thing I'll mention is the health and dental plan. For domestic students, you may be aware students can opt out of our health and dental plan, which is managed by the student union, if they can show proof of coverage through another program. And I would just encourage you before you jump to opting out, that you do look at, or your student does look at what's really in that program. Oftentimes we find that this program can be a great supplemental program to coverage a student might already have. So it's just really worth knowing first what you're opting out of before you choose to make that decision, or your student does. And as Wade mentioned, also, of course, our office, the financial aid office, is bound by confidentiality as well. Our relationship is with the student. Certainly, we're happy to talk to parents and other people that might be involved in the student's life in general terms. We can explain policy or how a loan program works, but we can't have a detailed conversation about your student's academics or finances, that type of thing, without their express written consent. So I will be available at the end for questions as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary. And next is Tara Buxitis, who's our university registrar, to talk about important information about course registration and exam scheduling and other things too.
Thanks, Jacqueline, and welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening. And on behalf of myself and the registrar's office, welcome to St. FX. I'm pleased to be here this evening just to take a few minutes to introduce you to the registrar's office and the services and supports that we provide. So we are a small but mighty team located on the second floor of Nicholson Tower, and we're responsible for providing academic administrative support to students and faculty from the point of admission all the way through to graduation. So we oversee such things as the academic timetable, admissions, scholarships, the registration process, the academic calendar and the regulations that are contained within it, the exam schedules. We also are the keeper of student records. We're responsible for setting the academic dates, or as we refer to them as the calendar of events. And we're also responsible for overseeing the grade entry process. In addition to that, we also work closely with our academic advisors, which are located on the third floor of Nicholson Tower, as well as in the Schwartz School of Business. And our academic advisors are available to assist students with any questions that students may have about their degree program, which courses they need to take, if they want to do a check and balance on the courses they have registered for, just to make sure that they're on the right path. That's what our academic advisors are there for. So next, I just wanted to take you through some key dates for the fall semester, just to give you a sense as to how the semester is structured and when you can anticipate things happening. So the first is to start off with Tuesday, September 5th, which will be our first day of classes. And while we know that students are just coming to campus and getting settled, we do encourage students to go to classes on the first day. It helps start the academic year off on the right foot, gets them oriented, gets them into their classes and forming relationships with their fellow students and their faculty members. After that, students have about a week up until Tuesday, September 12th to make changes to their registration if they choose to. So between September 5th and September 12th, we're in what I like to refer to as the shopping period, which means that students can make changes to their courses without any penalties academically or financial. So if they're in a course that they don't like, doesn't resonate with them, they can choose to drop that course and pick up another one. And so if you happen to be chatting with your student and they happen to say, well, I'm in this course and it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, I'm not sure if I really like it, perhaps encourage them to either, touch base with academic advising or look at the academic timetable to see if there's another course that they might be interested in taking. Then after Tuesday, September 12th passes, students can actually still drop courses, but there is a penalty in the sense that they would receive a grade of DC in the course. So the grade DC stands for dropped course. It doesn't have any impact on a student's average, but it does show on a student's transcript. So it's important to know that, but once again, no penalty. And so, we usually advise students that if they're in a course that they're struggling with, or they're just not resonating with the subject matter, to potentially consider dropping it, even though they may get a grade of DC, because that is less, has less of an impact than getting a negative grade in the course. So something to keep in mind as well. The other thing to keep in mind when considering to dropping a course is that the longer that you wait to drop a course, it can have an impact on the refund if a student is eligible to receive one. So that's something to be mindful of as well. And our refund rules are posted on our website, so you can take a look at them there. We do ask students to become familiar with the add drop deadlines. So these can be found on the Office of the Registrar's website by going to stfx.ca and clicking on the link for the academic calendars housed on the Registrar's Office page, and then clicking on the link for the 2023-2024 calendar of events. And that will include the full list of the calendar of events, not just the fall term that I'm giving an overview of this evening. So then after September 12th passed, the next key date would be Thursday, September 28th. And that is the day that we will post the December exam schedule. And so the exam period will run from Saturday, December 9th until Tuesday, December 19th. And exams are held at 9, 2, and 7 p.m. We ask that students do not book flights until after the exam schedule has been posted, because students can actually be scheduled to write their exams on any one of those days at any one of those times. And so they need to be available to write those exams at the day and time that they are scheduled. So while we do allow alternate exam times, they are only permitted due to illness or extenuating circumstances. So if they wait until that schedule is posted, then it eliminates any risk of scheduling the return trip home during the exam period and then having to make changes to it. And the way that we develop our schedule is that normally students are not permitted or not required to write more than 2 exams in 25 hours. So we try to balance the schedule for them so that they can approach those exams with enough time and preparation. So then Wednesday, November 1st will be our last day to drop first semester courses for students. So that's a key date for them to keep in mind if they are considering dropping courses after that date. They would be carrying the course through to completion. Our study break this year is going to be situated with the Remembrance Day holiday. It will be held from Monday, November 6th to Friday, November 10th, with classes resuming on Monday, November 13th. And then our last day of classes for the fall term will be Wednesday, December 6th. There'll be a few days grace for students to prepare and study for their exams. And then, as just mentioned, we will enter the exam period beginning on Saturday, December the 9th. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that the Registrar's Office is responsible for the academic calendar. The academic calendar is available online. We do not print the calendar anymore, but if you go to the Registrar's Office website on stfx.ca, you will find the current academic calendar there. We do encourage both yourselves and your students to become familiar with the calendar and the academic regulations that are included within it. because in addition to the dates in the calendar will also provide you with information on degree requirements, our academic regulations, our grading system, our assessment of academic standing, our academic integrity policy, etc. So similar to my colleagues, Mary and Wade, who touched on confidentiality, we are here to support students, but also, their parents and family and friends as well. We won't talk specifics, but we can certainly help you understand our policy, understand our procedures, understand our regulations, so that you can in turn support your student. However, if your student would like to share information with you, they can complete and submit a release of information that provides consent to a specific person. And if that is submitted, then that gives us the ability to speak freely with that person based on what the student has indicated they're willing to allow us to share. So it could be academic information that they're willing to share. It could be financial information. It could be both. And if students want to do that, the form is available on the Registrar's Office website. It does need to be completed and signed by the student, and they are valid for 1 academic year. So if your student is just starting with us in September, wanted to put one in, they would have to repeat that process every year if they wanted to keep it in place. The other thing that I will mention this evening is just confirmations of enrollment. Sometimes these are needed, to provide proof of enrollment to, for health insurance, to banks if you have a line of credit, sometimes to places of employment. So students can obtain an unofficial confirmation of enrollment online through My Data. So it doesn't have my signature on it, nor does it have the seal on it, but sometimes that is sufficient for the student's need. If they do require an official confirmation that has the seal and the signature of the registrar, they can submit a request through the Registrar's Office service catalog, or they can drop into the Registrar's Office. And we are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4 p.m. The other thing is that if you're bringing your students through on Welcome Day, we will be set up to be able to provide confirmations of enrollment at that time as well. So when we're checking your student in, you can simply ask for a confirmation of enrollment and we'll provide it to you on the spot. Okay, and that is all for me, except to say welcome again, and I will be available at the end for questions, and also just encourage you to reach out with any questions that you may have now or along the way, because we're here to help.
Thanks, Tara. So I think I'm next. I believe I'm next. I'm going to talk a little bit about student life and who we are. So there's a couple of different areas within student life, but generally we deal with everything non-academic, all of the developmental and support needs outside of academics, although they're very integrated. Students experience it as one whole experience. So we work very, very closely with colleagues on who specifically deal with academic concerns. So the first big area, if you, most of our first year students live in residence. And so I imagine a lot of you have some information or some questions about residence. One side of residence would be the residence life staff. So these are the a whole huge team of folks from, so we have our senior community advisors, and community educators, and these are all student leaders. They've lived in residence for at least 1 year. Some of them, especially the seniors, have lived in residence sometimes 3, 4, 5 years if they're going on into education. Some of them stay the whole time. And so these are frontline staff who are live in the building. They're right in the middle of training right now. Actually, their training started this week. They get 2 full weeks of training, which is a lot of training, more than other schools will have for their student leaders. I'm just bragging, flexing a little bit here. So they're well trained. We set them up to be able to support students who are, have any kinds of questions or encounter any kinds of challenges throughout their transition. They also put on a lot of programming and host events and activities to build community and to promote some awareness and development in different areas of student development as well. The residence life coordinators, these are professional staff, and they actually oversee the student teams in the building. They do live on campus, and they have offices in all of the buildings that house first-year students. There's a residence life coordinator dedicated to that building, and their office is right there, so they can connect very quickly with a professional staff member. There's also always an RLC on call, at least one. Sometimes they're all on call, and sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 of them that are on call, depending on what's happening on campus. And you know, for busier times when we expect a lot of activity, maybe around homecoming, when there's a lot of engagement and a lot of activities and events going on, all of the RLCs will be on hand to make sure that students are well supported and looked after for those events. Another area of student life is student development and engagement. So this is the group that a team of folks who are focused very much on transition and that first year experience. They are the ones who develop all of that educational programming and developmental programming that we put on campus. They're very much focused on substances and making sure students are aware and you know, can make informed choices when it comes to choosing to use or abstain from alcohol or substances. And also, they're very focused on getting students engaged in all the different things that they can get engaged in on campus. I can't even list them all, but that's because they know, and we know, and we very much value that engagement, because it really is, you know, successful people, successful students are engaged in campus and in their academics and non-academic opportunities. And then the other area of student life is student rights and responsibilities. So we oversee the residence community standards, which is just as it sounds, it's the standards that every student who lives in residence are expected to uphold and support. When you're sharing a living space like that, we need to have some common understanding. And then the students will also engage in building a community agreement for their own floor, in addition to sort of the regular standards that we would have in residence. And we also have the student code of conduct for you know, more serious mistakes that students will make. It does happen for sure. And the point is, we try to well, we do. We really emphasize learning and development, and no matter what we're addressing, we're focusing on what it means to be part of this community, this varying community. And wherever possible, we will engage in a restorative approach, which means helping them to understand the harm, seeking to understand the intention behind the behavior, and then how are we going to work with the student and the communities to repair that harm and make it right. And that doesn't mean there's no consequences, but it means that they're very much involved in figuring out the right path forward, and the students who were harmed or others that might have been harmed with that behavior as well. There's a whole range of things there you can imagine. And we also, of course, there are formal resolution processes for behavior or incidents that might need that. And of course, we've got policies and things that outline the procedural fairness. And we, above all, we're very, very careful about respecting privacy of students involved and support for all of the students involved as well. So ultimately, what we want is for students to be able to leave here with not only a degree, but a really well-rounded education, and to have a good understanding of who they are, what they value, and how they're going to give back to the communities that they belong to as they move on from here. So that's student life in a very big nutshell. And I will pass it on to my friend Margie for the health, counseling, and accessible learning areas.
Thank you, Jacqueline, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's always an exciting time of year for us when we're waiting for the new students to arrive and returning students to come back. So thanks for taking time to join us this evening. So As Jacqueline mentioned, I'm responsible for two main areas, the Health and Counseling Center on campus and the Tramble Center for Accessible Learning. So at the Health and Counseling Center, we are located on third floor of Bloomfield Center, which is the Students' Union building. And our services, we have a collaborative care practice. So we have physicians, nurses, a nurse practitioner a day a week, clinical therapists who provide mental health support, all in one place. So it's kind of one-stop shopping for students, and we provide primary care services and mental health services for St. FX students only. We don't see faculty or staff, only students, and it's self-referral. We don't take referrals from parents or faculty members or friends. Students have to initiate their own referrals, and it's very easy to access the care at the Health and Counseling Center. Students can we're going to be setting up on welcome days in the registration area to give students new students an opportunity to give us their basic demographic information. So it's very easy for them to then log on and make appointments for themselves. The first point of contact for students who would like to receive services at the Health and Counseling Center is to meet with one of our nurses, whether it's for a medical reason, sexual health, mental health. They'll meet with one of our nurses privately to talk with the nurse about what their concern is, and then the nurse can determine the level of urgency and assign the student with the most appropriate care provider, and also give them information about other resources that are available. There are lots of great community resources and online resources that students can access on their own. So confidentiality is obviously very important with healthcare, and we are bound by law to maintain confidentiality when it comes to healthcare. So for a lot of students, for most first-year students, this is the first time that they're managing their own healthcare and the first time that they're making their own doctor's appointments and so on. And it can be a challenge for them, but that's okay. We're here to meet them with their challenges and just reassure them that we're a kind, friendly group of people, and we're looking forward to working with them. One of the things I just wanted to mention is hopefully some of the students, some of your students have already had meningitis B vaccinations. This is something that's been, in the news and people are much more aware of lately, but meningitis B it's not a common disease, but when people contract it, it's very serious. And one of the vulnerable groups is young adults living in communal environments. So that includes students who are living in residence and post-secondary institutions. So we will be hosting some meningitis B vaccine clinics in partnership with Public Health early in the school year. If you are a student, or if you are a student on the call tonight and you haven't had your meningitis B vaccination, please watch out for that, because it's a two vaccine series. Another plug for the Students' Union, and none of us are paid by the Students' Union, but I just want to give a plug for their health and dental plan, and for people who are considering opting out to really think carefully about that, because there are areas of coverage that they have excellent coverage. So for example, psychological services, all of our services at the Health and Counseling Center are at no extra charge to students. However, if they want to access private psychological services, say at home during the summer, or if they want to have a psychoeducational assessment to access to, if they're being assessed for a learning disability or ADHD, there's I believe it's $900, $800 or $900 coverage just for psychological services alone. Most other plans don't have that much coverage, and that combined it could go a long way to covering it. In addition, the Students' Union plan covers that meningitis B vaccination, which would apply for students who are outside Nova Scotia. For Nova Scotian students, it would be covered, but for others it's not, and it's quite an expensive vaccine. It's over $300, so that goes a long way to covering the cost of the insurance for the year. I guess one other thing I wanted to mention is just we have a new health and wellness resource portal. It's the the URL is on the screen there. And so I really encourage everybody to go in there and take a look. There are a lot of resources available to support students' health and well-being, and both on campus, in the community, and online, and they're all in one place there. So just if you log on to that stfx.ca/flourish, and bookmark that, all of the relevant resources for to support health and well-being are there. The Tramble Center for Accessible Learning is also part of our team. There's the Tramble Center is located in the library, and this team supports students who've been diagnosed with permanent disabilities. And we're able to help students arrange for a number of things, to help implement accommodations for their academics, with writing grant applications for technology, tutoring, note-taking, and so on. It's essential that students engage with our center too. And I know, in a lot of cases going through school, students that have disabilities, their parents have been very involved in helping them navigate their accommodations and adaptations to school programming. But once students arrive at university, it's really important for them to develop a different level of autonomy. And in order for our team to be able to work effectively with them, they need to work with us. So just if you can encourage, if you're a student on the call, make sure, and if you're a student who's going to be working with the Tramble Center, please contact us, as soon as you can, so that we can get things going for you early in the term. And watch your email. And if you're a parent or a family member or a friend, encourage the students that you're working with to keep an eye on their emails, to watch for those. All the information that you need from the Tramble Center will come by email. And that is way over the 3 minutes. So I'm going to stop right there. Thank you.
Well, Margie, you have 2 areas, so you really get to use it. Thanks, Margie. And next is Megan Fogarty with our Office of Human Rights and Equity.
Hey folks, so I just want to touch briefly on the Diversity Engagement Center advising services. So at St. FX, we have advisors that support Indigenous, Black, and 2S LGBTQIA+ student needs by honoring and celebrating our respective cultures on campus. So we have the Gigganu Indigenous Student Center, and then we also have the Diversity Engagement Center, which houses our Black, International, and 2S LGBTQIA+ student advisors. And those are places of safety and, just a place to be and hang out together. So some of the things that your advisor can do for you, they can provide one-on-one support and problem solving, some advocacy, connecting students with tutoring services and financial supports, and also making referrals to both internal and external advisors or service providers. We also do like to have a little bit of fun, right? So we like to build community and engage with you. So next slide, you'll see a list of our, we'll get there eventually, folks. There we go. There's our advising team. So folks are really, really excited to meet you and welcome you to campus. If you identify with any of these groups, by all means, please contact your advisors, because we are just really excited to help you build connection and community within St. FX. And so some of the things that we will do are things like our kickoff barbecues. So by all means, make note of the time and come join us. You'll meet some faculty, some staff, some administration, and the occasional guest appearance by the president. So it's a really great time to get together, be together, and make some new friends. See, I was short and sweet tonight. You're welcome.
Not just tonight, Megan, every day. But okay, so thank you everybody for sharing a little bit about your areas. So now we're going to open up the Q&A function there. So how this will work, if you pop your question in there using the Q&A, and MJ will ask your question and direct it to the right person who has the answer for that. And I think there's going to be a few links and things that we share. I know one person asked if this was being recorded, because there's a lot of great information, and yes, it is being recorded. The best way, the place that you want to go for pretty much everything, well, if you start there on the website, you'll find where you need to be. But the best way to find it is if you go to stfx.ca, and then there's a space on there, a link on there that says new to St. FX, and it'll take you to a page where there's all kinds of information. Every time we do a communication or a recording or something like this, there'll be information that is shared there that's specific to students who are transitioning to university. Okay, so MJ, what's our first question?
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jacqueline. Our first question is probably a question for Bob. Are we allowed to decorate our rooms with fairy lights or wired lights?
Well, that's a good question. We really don't like things stuck to the walls. A lot of times when those lights go up, they don't come down as easy as they went up, so it pulls the paint off, and then there's a charge for that. So I wouldn't recommend it. No, it's just better to be on the side of caution on that one.
Okay, thank you. This is probably another question for you too, Bob. Do kitchens in residence come with things like cutting boards, paring knives, spatulas, pans, etc.? If not, are students allowed to bring those items?
Absolutely, they can bring them. We don't stock the kitchens with any of those things. The majority of students take their own and then just take it back to their room when they're finished.
Okay, thank you. This one is for Tara. If students have not yet sent in their transcripts, are they still able to receive their academic scholarships?
Yes, yes. So if students can submit their transcripts as soon as possible, then we will be able to finalize that scholarship offer for them.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are parents allowed to attend welcome ceremony on September 4th? Is this for all students or just first year? I think that's for Jacqueline.
Yeah, so that would be our Zavarian welcome ceremony, and it is just for new students. So it's not open to. There's just isn't enough room, but we don't. It isn't open to any kind of guests or anything other than some staff and faculty that are involved in it as well.
Another one for Bob. Do students have access to dishes and sinks to wash dishes in residence, like Bishop's Hall? Are there any storage options aside from dorm rooms?
So Bishop's Hall and MSB have kitchens throughout the building. And yes, that's the area where you can wash your dishes. As far as storage, yes, each building has some storage in the lower level. So a lot of times students want to put hockey gear there or empty boxes, suitcases, that sort of thing. So yes, we can certainly store those things for you.
Okay. Are wireless printers permitted?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. Is there anything that students should have in their room for hurricane prep? We are not from this coast, so this is new to us.
Well, it was new to us last year too. It certainly, we knew it was coming, but it certainly hit us harder than we ever expected. I would suggest having a flashlight on hand. If you have a charger or a charger for your cell phone that you can actually charge the charger and then plug in so that you've got you can have some power for a couple of days. If you know it's coming along, bottled water, although we are on the town system, so we always have access to water. Probably an extra cord for your computer or something, so you can plug in at Mulrooney. So some of our buildings are actually run by generators when if the power goes out. So I think that would be the main thing, and some snacks. We were able to have Meal Hall open at 11:30 after our hurricane last year, and we were able to serve meals in there straight right through. It took us about 4 days to get our power back on, and kind of get things back up to running. So that's just a couple of the things I would suggest. Yes.
Okay, thank you. When will all of the books we need for classes be posted in My Data?
So that really depends on when your faculty member actually ordered the books. Sometimes they're a little late in getting the orders in, so we order them as quick as we possibly can. The system gets updated daily. We have books coming in literally every day now. So I would just check back on a regular basis. And you can email Trish at the St. FX store. I don't have her email address just off the top of my head, but if you go to shop.stfx.ca, you can get her information. But like I say, they're updated every day. We've got trucks coming in with books, so I would just hold tight, and they'll be in soon.
I think the question that this person is referring to is maybe the time that students have received for Welcome Day. Is that the time that they are to be at the Keating Center?
Yes. If they get a time, that's, they can come in any time between, if it's 11 to 12, to check in at the Keating Center, meet the president, pick up keys, that sort of thing. If they're living on campus, they have some time to also go into the showcase, student service showcase, and have something to eat, or you can go over to your residence and unload and then come back. It's open all day on Friday, September 1st from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. So lots of time to get back over there if you want to just get checked in and then go over to your residence.
Perfect, thank you. Is the time for move into residence flexible?
Yeah, it would be flexible as long as you stay within that hour. No, just kidding. Yes, it is. Just if you can email, if you need to move your time a bit, if you email residence@stfx.ca, James and his team will be able to adjust it for you. If you can provide a time or times that would work better, that's certainly helpful for us.
Perfect. Earlier, you indicated that applications open in October 2023 for residents for the following year. How difficult is it to get into residence after your first year?
We will take any student that applies back who wants to stay in residence. I would suggest the sooner you apply, the better, because we assign them by first come, first serve. You get an option to get back into your own building first, and then to move to another building. We are going to make Cameron Hall next year all singles, so that's first time that's ever happened. It's currently doubles, so we think that'll be an option for returning students who are looking for a single room and still like to stay on campus, and it's a bit more affordable.
Perfect, thank you. When will the schedule for Arrival Weekend be posted? Looking particularly for events for parents.
Tomorrow. There's some information that we're going to be updating tomorrow, but for parents, we actually are trying something new this year. We used to do this exact session in person several times during Welcome Day. We are as part of the check-in process, there's going to be a friends and family zone that will, I'm pretty excited. It's looking like it's going to be kind of fancy. So we'll have all of this kind of information will be there, but you'll also get an opportunity to meet some of the senior leadership is going to be there throughout the day. So that is focused entirely on parents and things. There aren't any other sort of events specifically for parents during Welcome Weekend, but that'll be available right up until 4 o'clock on the 1st or 1 o'clock on the 31st if you're doing the Community Connections or Relax Start move-in.
Okay, great, thank you. This is another one for Bob. Are hair straighteners and laminators allowed in residence? are fridges in the kitchens that you can leave things in, for governors in particular?
Can you repeat the first question, first part of the question?
Sure. Are hair straighteners and laminators allowed in residence?
Yes, they are. Hopefully if you're taking a laminator, you're not making fake IDs, so I'll leave that one up to Jacqueline. And as far as fridges and governors, yes, there are large fridges in our kitchens, as well as each room has a fridge with a freezer in it, as well as a microwave.
Thanks. You had me worried that you were going to say no to a hair straightener. Phew. Are mini fridges allowed in McIsaac?
Yes, they are.
Okay, great. What is the procedure for Welcome Day? We have a residence check-in for 2:30. Do we arrive earlier? And where do we go first?
So you would check in, if your time is at 2:30, you would go to the Keating Center. Again, your opportunity to meet the president, check in at the registrar's office, pick up your key and your housing contract, and then you can either go over to the Student Services Showcase or go over to your room and get sorted out there and then come back.
Okay, great. So you have covered this one before, but it's probably a good reminder to everyone. Can we adjust dorm move-in times due to flight arrivals? I am traveling with my roommate and we would like to move in at the same time.
Yes, if you email James at residence@stfx.ca, you'll be able to adjust your time.
Perfect. Thank you. Will there be a late start to orientation if, by small chance, Hurricane Franklin comes this way?
If Hurricane Franklin disrupts operations on campus, or we find out that there's a big disruption to travel, we'll assess it at the time. So if that could be it would be a very, very small chance, but I suppose if we've learned anything in the past couple of years, it's that anything can actually happen. But we will communicate about that as we figure it out, as we assess it.
Thanks, Jacqueline. Can we have a mini fridge in the dorm, particularly in McIsaac?
Yes. So the rooms that have fridges are Bishops, Mount St. Bernard, Governors, O'Regan, and Riley.
Thank you. Should we wait until all of the books are listed, or should we order them in different batches?
That's totally up to the individual student. It really just depends. If you only have one on your list right now, you might want to wait. But that's really totally up to you. Maybe you could look and see which books you're potentially going to need first. So classes would start on a Tuesday. If the book you need for Monday's class isn't in, then you really don't have a whole lot to worry about. But again, it's up to the individual.
During Welcome Day, are there things for parents to attend, or is it mostly just students?
We are very much focused on the students. It's about Welcome Day is about transitioning them to residents specifically, and then the following days when we'll kick off the sort of more formal campus welcome and orientation activities. But there is, so the showcase area at the check-in is, I think parents will find a lot of good information and connection to resources on campus. All of the people, I think all the people on this call will be there. You'll meet us in person that day, and a whole host of other folks will be there. The showcase, we keep referring to the showcase, but after you do sort of the check-in area, you go out into the showcase area, and that's where you can talk to or even just learn about it. Sometimes it's just so good to know that they have a chaplaincy office. You don't need to go talk to them, but at least you know they're there. And like I said, there'll be the friends and family zone where you can actually ask very specific questions for anybody who has a student who's attending university.
Okay, thanks, Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, oh, Mary Jessie, I think it's important too to note that there'll be food served in the auxiliary arena all day. So we start out with tea and coffee, muffins and pastries. At lunchtime, I'm not sure what chef has in mind, but it's usually a nice. Last year it was a nice roast beef sandwich. There's vegetarian options, gluten-free options, as well as some desserts, smoothies. We've had seafood chowder in the past, some novelty ice creams. So there's lots of food basically all day long. So if you get hungry or just need to come in and have a cup of coffee, you're certainly welcome to do that anytime during that day.
Thank you. Do new students need their student ID to pick up items from the post office? We have had items shipped ahead that our student will require for moving, and they're sort of wondering when they will receive their student ID.
So you would pick up your student ID on the day when you check in. The post office will be open because it's a regular business day, and then you can make your way up to the post office to get your parcels.
Okay, thank you. Is there security in McIsaac Hall?
We don't have formal security. What we have is, I mentioned the CAs, the student leaders. There's a pair that's on call in the buildings after hours right there, and they are the ones who will deal with and respond to any kind of issues that might arise. We also have, like I mentioned, the residence life coordinators. So for the first few weeks, residence life coordinators will be very visible, walking around, chatting with students, helping the CAs, just trying to help folks really kind of establish what's appropriate and normal in residence and help folks find their way around. And then we also have, there is full-time security on campus that are there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And so students can reach them very quickly, and they can respond very quickly if there is an emergency or need. We do sometimes get help with from our student security team. They're called X-Patrol, and sometimes they can give us assistance, just making sure that at first when students aren't sure which entrance to use and how to sign in guests and things, so they can help with that in the first few weeks until people get familiar with the process.
Great, thanks, Jacqueline. Do all residences have microwaves and mini fridges in the room, specifically the Mount and microwaves? I know you've talked about fridges at the Mount, but do they have microwaves?
No, they do not have microwaves in the room, but there is microwaves in the kitchens. Just it escapes me at the moment, but I believe there are 2 kitchens there. If not, there's one large kitchen with a couple of microwaves in it.
Okay. Another quick question about McIsaac Hall. Is there a curfew?
No, there's no curfew. The students really do need to manage their own time. But there are certain hours that you can sign in guests. There's different hours for that. And you can only enter through the front door, for example, to make sure that the residence is secure. We also have quiet hours in residence. So on a school night, that's at 11 p.m. And on weekends, so Friday night and Saturday night, it starts at 1 a.m. And so if you're out after that and you're coming back in, you need to be really mindful of that and just be quiet when you're coming in and making your way to your room.
Thank you. How long do we have to move in?
As long as you need. Having said that, though, at 4 o'clock on move-in day, on the 1st, I should say, the first floor meeting will be happening. So you really want to make sure that you're settled, and most people will say their goodbyes at that point to head to the floor meeting, or if parents are sticking around town, that's a good opportunity for parents to, head out, maybe if they need to run to Walmart for something or go grab some dinner for themselves. But by 4 o'clock, you want to be settled so that you can go to that first floor meeting, which is really important.
Okay, thank you. I am a first-year international student who will be arriving on campus on not until September 3rd. I'm a bit concerned because I will be missing academic day on September 2nd. Is there any recordings of the information that will be given?
I don't believe that they're going to be recording the sessions with the deans. I would recommend, if you reach out to studentlife@stfx.ca, that'll come to me, and I can connect with you one-on-one and make sure that we can get you connected to your faculty and your dean, just to see what you might have missed there. Also, if you're connected with Lubna Rahman, she's the international student advisor. She will be a huge resource that can help you get settled once you do arrive, and she can do the same thing. So either one of us or both of us, please reach out to somebody, and we'll make sure that we get you connected individually.
And any international students that are around on September 4th will get a chance to spend the day with Lubna, and she can certainly catch you up on what you might have missed there as well. So yeah.
Perfect. What if I missed pre-registration for Community Connections Day on August 31st? Am I still able to go?
Of course you are. We'd love to see you. Please just shoot perhaps which student life was that, the one you want to share, Jack?
Yeah, whichever one you're interested in. It looks like it's Community Connections Day. The easiest way at this point would be to email studentlife@stfx.ca and let us know that you'd like to register for Community Connections on the 31st.
Right. And let us know what community you'd be interested in connecting the most with, and we'll make sure that advisor reaches out to you.
Where do we park on Welcome Day?
You park wherever the people at the gate tell you to. We've got a bit of a plan there. There'll be people directing traffic. So if you come in on, I'm missing the name, Convocation Boulevard. I forgot the name of the place. So it's the entrance off of West Street or Highway 7 and Convocation Boulevard. And there'll be people right there directing you where to park. It really depends on what the status of each parking lot is at that point.
Perfect. Are students able to visit their friends' dorms at any time?
Great question. I really appreciate you asking that. The short answer is yes, but you cannot just go in yourself. You need to be invited, and they need to sign you in properly. If you're not signed in, you're technically trespassing, and that you can get into some trouble with that. So make sure you call your friend and say, hey, can I come over? And they'll say, sure, I'll sign you in. I'll meet you at the door, and then you're good to go.
Wonderful. When there is an ebook or a physical textbook option, should students wait to speak to profs to see if there's a preference or an advantage to a certain format?
Yeah, that's certainly a good idea. There is a return policy at the St. FX store. So as long as, the book is not marked up, and some of them will say right on it whether it can't be taken out of the plastic or not, because there may be discs inside or materials that can be, taken out and then the book returned. So that's a good idea if there are options like that. And you'll have that class, within the first couple of days. So you'll have lots of time to get your order placed.
Thank you. Questions about an air fryer or a microwave. Are you allowed to bring an air fryer to residence, specifically Mackaysack Hall? Or if your residence doesn't have a microwave in it, can you bring one?
Yes, you can bring in a microwave. I would need to do a little bit more investigation into the air fryer. So we will get that posted on our questions page on the stfx.ca. So we'll look into that tomorrow. That's actually the first time somebody's brought that up. So thank you.
Yeah,
We will-
Bob, I suspect the answer will be no on that, but we should double check that
Yeah.
because it does have exposed elements. So
Okay.
So also, what about a toaster?
No. No.
The stfx.ca/supporter page hasn't been working for my mom. How do we resolve this?
yes, we just had a new website launch, and I think there was an old link there. The best way to do it, and Kyler, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the best thing to do would be to go to the site I mentioned earlier, stfx.ca, and then click on new to St. FX. And if it's not there tomorrow, I'll make sure we update the link to, we can make sure we update the link to parents' information. But I think that that would be on that page.
That is the best way to go.
Awesome, thank you. Will I pick up my overnight parking pass at check-in?
Yes, at the Keating Center, they will be set up and you'll be able to pick that up when you check in. They may ask you a couple of more questions just regarding the residence that you're in, that sort of thing. But yep, they'll all be ready at the Keating Center.
Okay, wonderful. Are there elevators in Bishops?
There is one elevator in Bishops, yes.
Sure, it'll be very busy on welcome day. Are we able to have 2 vehicles come on moving day to help move stuff in?
Yep, that's not a problem at all. Parking does get a little tight, but we've seen 2 vehicles come along with a trailer, so not an issue.
My son's girlfriend is coming along to say goodbye. He has a single room. Is she welcome to stay with him, or should she stay in our hotel?
There is a no guest policy for the first week, so she wouldn't be able to stay with him at the residence.
Thank you. Can students from other schools stay in their room for a weekend?
Yes, they can. Again, they need to be signed in for that. So if they have any questions about, if they know that they've got a friend coming for the weekend, just tell them to chat with ask their CA, make sure first that there isn't a no guest policy. Sometimes we will have a no guest policy for things like homecoming. There's already enough guests on campus for homecoming, for example. And they just need to be signed in. That's all.
Great, thank you. Sorry, it caught me mid-sneeze. Is there access to vacuums in the dorm?
Yes, we do have some vacuums that would be accessible through your Jacqueline, I believe it's the senior CA.
I'm not sure the process for getting them. I know the custodian, it depends on each building, I think. But there are some vacuums depending on the building. A lot of students like to bring the little like the powerless, help me out folks, the little vacuum, the little
Like dirt devils.
yeah.
A dustbuster?
Yeah, like the kind that's not that you don't have to plug in though.
Yeah.
Sweeper, carpet sweeper. That's what I was trying to come up with.
Okay. Are we allowed to have overnight guests that are not students?
Yes, you can. If they just can't be under 16, so we need to have parental consent for that. If it's a younger sibling or something, you need to talk to your residence life coordinator. But otherwise, you can have an overnight guest. You just need to have them signed in.
Okay. As McKinnon Hall does not have a kitchen in the building, am I allowed to use a kitchen in another residence building? You mentioned McIsaac Hall residents can bring a mini fridge. Can I bring one as well?
Yes, you can certainly bring a a mini fridge in there or a microwave. That's not an issue. And as far as using the other kitchens, you would simply have to be signed in by a friend. You just couldn't walk in, but it would be just like visiting, visiting your buddy, and you just say you want to cook some spaghetti with them and have some good time. So yeah, that's not a problem.
And actually, we have opened up a kitchen in McKinnon this year. We have access to the one in the old apartment there, Bob.
Oh, that's very handy. What should I do if I am having problems contacting my roommate after multiple attempts?
I have a few questions, I guess, about that first. Maybe if you if you met on, say, the social media page for your building, and then they're just not answering you there. Not sure what to say about that. You could check with us, and we can make sure that they're still planning on coming. That might be, or to make sure that the contact information is correct. But Bob, any insights on that?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Again, if you email residents@stfx.ca and just outline your name and the room, residence and room that you're in, we can confirm the email address, and we would confirm it provide you with the St. FX email address for your roommate. I'm not sure if you're using like a Gmail or a Hotmail account, but their St. FX email would also be a good option.
Okay. What happens if someone is disrupting quiet hours?
There's the best thing to do. So when you move in, you'll meet your CAs. They'll let you know about what we call the Connect phone. So this is the phone that goes to the CAs that I mentioned who are on call overnight and after quiet hours as well. So if you call that phone and say, there's it's pretty noisy next door or across the hall or whatever, let them know the room number. They never let the person know who made the complaint, but they'll go and address it at the door. And they have a whole protocol if it's not working and they need to return, you just need to call that number, and they'll address that.
Okay. Elevators in McIsaac. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So we have a couple of questions now about visiting parents staying in a room for several days. Or another one, my sister is coming to help me move in and staying for about 4 additional days. Can she stay in residence as she does not have any other option and her flight leaves on Thursday?
Yeah, so unfortunately, no, there is a no guest policy for that first week, and it's very important that is respected. Yeah, they're going to need to find another option either in town or at the airport. There's a hotel that's attached to the airport right there. Yeah.
Okay. Is a parking pass transferable to another car? For example, if I use a different car for second semester?
Yes, you can make those arrangements at the Keating centers. You can do that when you pick up your tag or when you make the change of the vehicle, but that's not a problem.
Okay. This isn't a guest in residence, it's somebody wanting to spend a night outside residence to maybe visit a sibling's rental house. Is there a specific procedure for that?
So if I understand the question correctly, it's a student who's living in residence and they're wondering about not staying in residence, but staying somewhere off campus for the night. That's not a problem. You don't need to let anybody know. The only thing is if it's during orientation week, maybe let your CA know that you're not going to be there. They're paying attention, and if they see you on welcome day and then they don't see you again for a couple of days, they get a little nervous. So maybe just let them know. But normally, no, you don't need to let anybody know if you're not staying the night.
Okay. Are garbage cans and recycling bins supplied for residence rooms?
Yes, there's one of each in every room, and then each residence has its own garbage room / recyclable space where you're required to take down your own items and deposit it in the larger receptacles.
Okay. I think Jacqueline addressed this one earlier, but maybe a good reminder. Is there a schedule for Welcome Week? If so, how do I access it? Thank you. It's going to be available
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes, there is a schedule. We have it ready to go. There's some limited information right now that you can click through if you go to that site, stfx.ca, and then click on New to St. FX. There's a bit of information there, like a highlights and overview, but tomorrow the actual schedule will be posted there.
Okay. We have a couple of elevator questions. Are there elevators in Mount St. Bernard or MSB? Yes. Are there elevators in McKinnon Hall? Unfortunately, no. Is it common for waitlisted students to be offered single rooms?
Yes. It really, would depend on the building. I wouldn't, I guess you could check when you check in that day. There'll be some movement, after that, because unfortunately we do have some students that don't show up. So you can continue just to check in with the residence office, and it's located in the basement of Morrison Hall. And then of course you can always email residents@stfx.ca.
Okay, got a fun question now to keep Tim Herlihy busy. What's your most popular meal in Meal Hall?
It's actually the more traditional meals. So spaghetti night is probably one of the highest attended nights, and is very popular. But even just really simple Sunday kind of dinner options tend to be quite popular. Roast chicken dinner, that kind of thing, very popular with students.
Okay, thank you. Is there a student gym or gymnasium that will always be open?
There will be, but not right away. So we are just undergoing a major renovation at the Saputo Center, where the fitness center will open probably mid-November, and it's actually pretty much going to triple in size from its original location in the Keating Center. We're adding some additional spaces for yoga, meditation, I guess multi-purpose space in there as well. The main gym, the Coach K Court, and the auxiliary gym should be open by September 15th. And there'll be times in there just like open gym time where you can throw a ball around or shoot some hoops or play pickleball, that sort of thing. And as well, intramurals will start up rather quickly as well. Most of them for the first little bit are outside just simply because of the weather. But we hope to get these new spaces open as soon as we can. We're very excited about it. It's just unfortunately taken a little bit longer than we had hoped.
Okay. Thank you. What if a student happens to want to switch from a double to a single room, from a semi-private to a private? Are there options to change living arrangements throughout the year?
Yep, there are options throughout the year. We do like you to work with your CA, just to reassure them that it's more about a lifestyle preference rather than an issue with your roommate. But it really depends certainly on the availability. If it's there, we're certainly happy to have someone move into it. Yeah. I would say that's, just check in regularly with the residence office, and they'll be happy to help you out.
Okay, thank you. Is there a daily, weekly, or monthly menu schedule for Morrison Hall?
There is. There's it's over a month actually, the actual menu rotation, and you can access it through our Sodexo My Way. If you Google CNFX Sodexo My Way and click on Morrison Hall, you can access the menu there to check what's going on in dining hall on any given day.
Great, thank you. Some athletic questions or athletic facility questions. Is there a pool open for lane swimming, perhaps with a recreational swim team? And are caps required in the pool?
So our pool should reopen again around November 15th. There's been some work being done in there too. Pretty much the whole center is going under a renovation. And of course, with any renovation of an older building, you do run into some challenges. And unfortunately, that's what's happened to us. But yes, it will be open for lane swims. There's open swims. We just hired a new aquatic supervisor, and she's quite interested in doing some new things. There's intramural programs like water polo in there. And no, you don't have to wear a cap. And just while I guess while we're on this, part of the big renovation too is new locker rooms. Our locker rooms were really outdated. So these will be new and modern with private showers and private change areas. And so again, we're quite excited about it.
Okay, great. What are some of the intramurals that might be available in the first semester?
Whew. Well, certainly, soccer, flag football. I believe there's a softball tournament, golf tournament. There is I believe, an event, and I don't know what it is, but I see 4 people around what looks like a little trampoline, throwing a ball into it, bouncing it. Not sure what that is.
Spike ball.
Thank you, spike ball. We could move into pickleball, basketball. God, really, the sky's the limit. If you Google on the St. FX site, or just search on the St. FX site for XREC, they'll have a list of the intramural programs that are happening.
Okay. Can you expand a little on what might happen for hockey? Like, are there organized hockey leagues? Someone's son wants to play recreational hockey. When might that start? And can the gear be brought sort of after Thanksgiving and stored in residence?
So yes, it can be brought and stored in residence. 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon. The Keating Center offers what we call shinny hockey. So you need a helmet with a shield, of course, stick and skates and gloves, and it's just kind of a fun time. Throw your sticks in the middle and divide up the team. So that happens for 2 hours each of those days. We have what is called the XHL, which is a competitive league. There is a small cost for that. A lot of the houses on campus have teams, plus off campus will have it as well. There is also a fun league, and then there is intramurals and hockey. So Antigonish is certainly a hockey town, and there'll be no shortage of opportunity for any student to play hockey at St. FX.
Great, thank you. Is there a link to opt out of health services?
On the St. FX Students Union webpage, you should be able to find that link, the u.ca, and they will be set up on welcome days, on the 2 welcome days in the Keating Center, and that's also an opportunity for you to be able to opt out.
Okay. Are you allowed to have a coffee machine in your room?
Yes, that's not a problem. And Mary, just one question that somebody just sent me a text on was, there was a question around going to another residence about and cooking. I think Tim touched on it, but one of the options that we have in Morrison Hall is what's called My Kitchen, where you swipe and you go into Morrison and basically cook your own meal. There's proteins, vegetables, eggs. You can make smoothies. And if there's nothing in the My Kitchen that you like, you can go to one of the other stations, such as the salad bar or the sandwich bar, and take some items from there and go in and cook your own meal. It's very popular. We doubled the size of it just before COVID. So there is 6 stations there. And the only thing we ask you to do is clean your pan. That's the biggest part of it, and really enjoy it. Because there's thousands of combinations that you could cook on a daily basis.
Mary Jessie,
Yes.
could I just go back to that previous question about opting out of health services? I just wanted to clarify. So the primary healthcare services, so students seeing a doctor or a nurse or counselor or clinical therapist, those services are free. There's no charge to those services for all St. FX students. The extended health, like the health insurance services for like prescription coverage, dental care, like massage, all of that kind of stuff. That's the extra stuff that you can opt out of. But the primary care services are free, and they're included for all St. FX students, and they're on campus.
Great, thank you. We have our last question for our question was answered. Thanks, Jacqueline. So we have no open questions, and many that were answered verbally, as well as many that were answered through the chat function with question and answer.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I'm glad we were able to get through all of your questions. You had some great questions. And again, like I said, I seem to have repeated this like 4 times. This is quite the site Kyler's got set up for us here, but for new to St. FX, or new to St. FX, that's where you're going to find a lot of the information and answers to questions that are popping up. But again, if you're not finding it, or you're finding that you just keep clicking around and you're not finding what you need, you can always, any one of us will all put up our hand and say, email me and I'll help you. Mine might be the easiest to remember next to Bob's. Mine's studentlife@stfx.ca. And then, or you could, if it's about residents@stfx.ca. And we can always direct you to who you need to connect with. If we don't have the answer, we know who does. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. And take care. Good night wherever you are.
Thanks so much. Just a quick note. I noticed there was a comment about they couldn't find FX Hall on the campus map. It is listed as McNeil Hall, number 16, I believe.
We have an updated map, Mary Jessie. We need to scour the website, figure out where those maps are and update it.
Okay, I'm looking at the map that came from the campus tour site.
Okay.
So that's something we can update tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Panelists, while we're just waiting for the last few participants to make their way out, I just wanted to update you folks that we are not doing these sessions live on the day of. As I mentioned, we're only doing that in the friends and family zone, and you folks don't have any obligation to be there, but and a lot of us, I think, are kind of already involved in some way. I will be there. That will be mostly my home base, but we've got members of the executive council and the deans that have volunteered to spend some time there. The slide deck that you've all provided, we'll have it on a screen going. And if you have any print material or anything like that that you want to leave there, feel free to bring it over when we do the setup on the Wednesday. Yeah, but other than that, we don't have the live sessions, so we won't get to hang out. Maybe we'll just have a meeting just for the heck of it, like a reunion.
Guys.
We're not going to know what to do with ourselves because we're not like, we don't have to work on the Saturday and the Sunday in the same way that we've worked in the past. Like I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and feel like I'm not somewhere I'm supposed to be.
Tara.
I know. That's just between us on this call.
Oh, goodness. Let's try not to talk about our Mr. Franklin who's on his way.
The
Yeah.
2 errors that were in the slideshow was, I think, an addition of a date for Bob, early October 2023, and another update for Wade in an email address. I've just done both of those.
Oh, thanks, MJ.
I may have done it on the one I saved on my computer, but I will update. I'll share that one.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Okay.
We'll have to connect with IT. I don't know what they need to be able to play that on that screen, if they need it on a laptop or a USB or what. So
Okay.
need to work that out, but that's a meeting for another day and not at bedtime.
Not a 10. Okay. Thanks, peeps. I
Thanks,
will shut
everyone.
it
Thanks,
down.
guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.